Justice League star Henry Cavill, or wait, is he a Justice League star? Says DCEU hasn't worked, praises Wonder Woman as first step in new direction. This is, with Justice League, really close to happening, like being released.
Yeah.
He sat down and talked about a lot of the problems that people have, myself included, with this. What I always tell people is I enjoy the movies, but they can be better. They can honestly be, because I feel like if they are, and I'm not going to make any stranger here as to not being a comic book fan, because if you're watching the video, you can see my room is like just regurgitated. I got 4 fucking long boxes of comic books, for crying out loud.
True, and the Contender game.
Yeah, and the Contender game.
I haven't touched that.
Oh yeah. And a God in the Shed over here by Baby Groot to share swag from other people. But so you look at the DCEU, DCFU, whatever the hell they're calling this thing, the DC universe of movies that they have.
Yeah.
Start with Man of Steel, go to Batman vs Superman. Both of those miss the heart of so many characters that influence the main characters. That's the big thing I had a problem with for both of them. Jonathan Kent, and granted, this is probably coming from, I was heavily persuaded by the fact that, and Kevin Costner, great actor, not taking anything away from him, but I prefer, I'm blanking on his name, Duke Boy on Smallville as Jonathan Kent. Just because how he did it, it was still protect my son, but it wasn't don't do the right thing. It was don't get caught because I know you want to do it because I've taught you. You always do the right thing.
It's very telling that even Kevin Costner can butcher that character that is so iconic. So it speaks volumes.
Yeah, and
I can see that. Yeah,
and so it's just one of these things. Like I look at this, and so as me and Beat were talking about this earlier, and he was saying, well, this one sucked, this one sucked, this one sucked. I'm like, Suicide Squad was okay. It was I like Suicide Squad. Okay, I'll come out and say it. I like Suicide Squad. I don't know I would have if I was the executive for the DC and doing all their stuff, that I would do that movie so soon as the third movie in your film universe.
Okay, why?
Because of the fact that where it does set up some villains, it sets them up in this way to not really be used with the heroes.
It goes even further because they pick stories like Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad that you can do that if you have a universe set up in the movies that you can say, okay, now we do something different. Because what Frank Miller did was a comment on the comics before and brought change to the whole thing. But first, you had the original Superman, Batman stories that laid the groundwork. If you don't have that in the movies and just go for that special stories that aren't that good to begin with, or, well, depending on who you ask, you get awry. It's the thing with Man of Steel broke so many, in my view, character cues that Superman should have. And then you double down with the darkness and with the things that Batman does, killing or not killing. People said, yeah, he killed in comics before. But these were the comics that weren't the usual Batman comics. They did it because to separate themselves from the rest, to make a comment on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And going there from the get-go wasn't the best game plan. If they had any game plan at all, that's another question. But Suicide Squad had a schizophrenia in it because they made the trailers that hit so well, and then they took the guys that made these trailers and let them re-edit or make parts of the movie themselves. So there were 2 teams making that movie, and it, in my opinion, showed very much in the end product. So you had inconsistencies in the tone and pacing and other things that were just, to me, obvious, and I didn't enjoy the movies because of that. And it just because I wanted to hate DC because, like Corey always says, we love DC comics. We would love to enjoy these movies because we are such a fan of the source material and other things. But we can't deny what's presented in front of us and just say, yeah, no.
One of the things I like from this article here that is mentioned is the fact that, because this is from an article that's for Rake magazine that Henry Cavill is going to be a part of. He puts, even if Marvel didn't exist, we'd struggle.
Mm-hmm.
That's big. That is huge for a lot of fans to understand.
Well, don't they all struggle? I mean, it's, you can't, no one's ever going to be happy with any version of any of these stories.
True, but at the same time, though,
whether it's Marvel or DC, I think they both have the same
his point was,
struggles.
Yeah, but his point was more there to say we struggle critically and with the fans, not just because we are.
So you think that's what Cavill meant when he said?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. He did. Yeah, with that, because it's one of those things like what a lot of people take from them is, and sure, I will give them the credit. Yeah, it comes across that way when what was it, 3 years ago when Man of Steel just came out, they were filming Batman vs Superman, and DC and Warner Brothers announced their lineup for the next 40 goddamn years. They announced all these movies. Shortly thereafter, right on that same time, Marvel announced their whole Phase 3 when they were finishing up Phase 2
up to
lineups.
2020.
Yeah, both of them until 2020. The problem with that is people then go, well, Marvel has stuff to back it up. Marvel has all these films that they've done to back up what they're going to do. What do you have? You're coming off the high horse of The Dark Knight, but are you using Christian Bale in here? Are you using Christopher Nolan? Are you using any of those people in here? No. Well, so you're starting over. So what makes you think that we're going to want all these things? And then even then, it's like you look at what Marvel's done with their stuff. They're using bigger named heroes before the Justice League or before the Avengers, where here we get two, or essentially three. They're setting up the trinity of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And then it's, here's Justice League, and then here's these two other movies about the supplemental characters, and here's this one from over, and it's just more confusing for the fair weather fan or the person who's going to discover the comics from the movies. Good
point. Yeah. So how is this different for Wonder Woman? Just is it because it got?
I think a lot of it is the style, because you look at the three movies, they have a dark tone to them, and this is the first one. You look at Man of Steel, it has a dark tone.
Yes.
Superman is not a dark hero.
Oh, he can be, but in the right context. First,
he can be, but he is typically not considered dark. He is the antithesis to Batman. Batman is the Dark Knight. Batman, it is easy to do this. Superman, he restrains himself so as to not be the ruler of Krypton or the ruler of Earth like General Zod wants to do, and all that. And yet here you have this where he's doing these moves that Superman really probably wouldn't do, at least right away. And then you get Suicide Squad, which is basically just introducing villains in here, and then giving us little glimpses of the Flash and of Batman, and expanding on Batman's ethos a little bit here. And then you get Wonder Woman, where it is an origin story, and it is one that honestly is needed a little bit because not a lot of people know Wonder Woman, or if you're reading the comic books, if you're reading the comic books, she has probably one of the most retconned origins in comics, in my opinion. So it's it does get confusing. So they're like, okay, here's this person, here's what she can do, and they did it with color. This is when that movie came out, and I was at work. I was telling people, I'm like, oh my god, this movie is so great, because the scene alone where she's coming out from the bunker because she wants to help and I'm noticing this while you are drinking out of your Wonder Woman mug,
Mhm.
that she's with her shield, and it's dark and grimy because it's World War One. Is it World War
Yeah,
One or World War Two?
Yes.
One.
It's World War One, and it was dark and depressing then, and you see her red in the red and blue just popping all the more as she's, basically doing a Captain America, deflecting bullets with her shield.
Yeah,
And
her
all that.
suit is actually pretty dark.
Yeah.
So I definitely noticed the color in that scene as well, of her costume, and I thought that was great. That because when I first saw the costume, I thought, oh, that's too bad. I don't really like the dark so much, but I do now. So
Yeah.
Actually, I just saw Wonder Woman for the first time on Friday. And I don't know why it took me so long to see. I mean, I do know why. I had the worst summer and didn't really have time for things. But yeah, I was pleased with it. It has a lot of potential. I think they had a lot of ground to cover to get the story going. So
Yeah. And I sort of want to end this part on what Garley says. Garley puts in here in the chat, Marvel's problem is how to keep making hits. DC's problem is how can we make a hit. He's right. Because,
didn't these movies do really well at the box office? I mean,
Not as expected. Or projected by the execs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
I mean, with some of these, they're expecting,
Billions.
like what Rogue One did they were expecting with Rogue One and all that stuff, where it's gosh, it's gonna break, it's gonna break the bank, and then I believe it lasted until Guardians came out, which I think they were wanting. We're gonna. Yeah, it did well.
It did better.
It did better, but
them all, so there's no denying that. And the only part I had an issue with the movie Wonder Woman was the end. And interestingly enough, it was when the colors changed to the scheme that the Batman, Man of Steel, and Batman vs Superman had, when it went all dark and CGI and the whole end boss fight, as you would call it. The third act was a little bit of a mess, and it was just in the moment when it appeared to be like the other DC movies. I was like,
oh yeah,
there's room for improvement, but it was the best movie so far, which is an easy thing to achieve, but.
Really?
Yeah, he's also saying that he has hope. He is not there just bashing DC and saying, yeah, it's all shit and we have to curl up in a fetal position. No, he's saying they know that. They're actively working at changing course and promises that Justice League will do that. Well, interesting, coming from him, as Superman is, spoiler, dead in the last movie. So he isn't going to be in it, and yet he is touting its horn. So
it's okay. Honestly, though, I feel like it's one of those things that if he is dead throughout the whole movie, and this is where we're going to play speculation here.
Yeah.
If he is dead throughout the whole movie, that's one thing. He'll still be in the movie because of the fact that they'll do cutaway scenes. I saw one of the trailers before I saw Thor Ragnarok, where they're talking about Lois Lane. She goes outside, and then it's Clark Kent, and he had just proposed to her, and all that. That's stuff that we didn't see in Batman versus Superman or in Man of Steel. We didn't see him propose to her and all that stuff. So it's that could be one route that they take is more flashback Superman.
He better put a ring on it.
He did. She said yes, but then Batman beat him until he said Martha. Martha.
Right.
And so the other one, the more popular one is a lot of people are thinking that he's going to come back in very similar to Superman Doomsday, where he's going to come back in, he's died and then he's he comes back in the black suit and all that stuff, and I'm like, but I would like to see that being played after Doomsday is actually officially debuted, not the Abomination Marvel character that was the big bad that emo Lex Luthor created in Batman versus Superman.
Rich wasn't a good character to begin with in the source, so no one surprise there. The decisions they made were boneheaded at times, and the things that they course corrected the levity a little bit, bringing that up and showing in the trailers that there are things called laughs, that people can smile. That's a possibility. Wow, okay, we're moving forward.
That's the other big thing I love about the Justice League is it does look like they have
more fun.
Yeah, more fun. That everything I've seen with Ezra Miller is his character is, his version of the Flash is he's being the comedian. I should say a comedian, not comedian, because that's obviously Thomas Wayne or Negan, depending on which universe you want to go to.
And the internet will have a fight because they're going to say that's all Joss Whedon's influence. It's going to be like Marvel all the time and all that shit. And try to be different. And I understand that. I welcome that because we need companies like Fox doing Deadpool or doing Logan and doing things differently than proper Marvel Disney does.
Yeah.
And why not change it around? But you can't just base all your things on that. Like, I like Zack Snyder, I like Watchmen, but also Watchmen was a story that was making fun or a comment on the whole superhero genre.
Yeah.
And then bring that to the characters they are making fun of. That it doesn't work. That tonality and the whole thing was strange, to put it mildly. And when they're going to do the course correcting, it has to be like for Ragnarok, from what I hear, that you have to find the right tone. You can't just make quips and make it good. And you can't just be dark. You have to find the right in between. And they made the best decision to get Whedon on board. But it shows a little bit lack of creativity when you have to bring on the same guy that did it for Marvel.
Yeah.
That's just like giving in. So, yeah.
For more on this Galactic Network podcast, go to gncast.com. That's GNCASTS.com.